Hi, my name is Miss Dee Dee Davis, and I am the Adult Services Librarian here at Vista Grande. And today we're doing a little supplementary video for the Literati book club. We just finished talking about the Barbizon book last week, I believe, and it's a lot of women's issues. And it talks about the hotel, the very famous hotel in New York, that unmarried women could go and stay and while they were working in New York. It also really coincided with the Mademoiselle magazine and Sylvia Plath, famous for the bell jar, which is based off the Barbizon. So we just finished this, and part of our discussion, most of our discussion, talked about sex discrimination against women. So we actually finished like 5 questions because there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that the patrons or the ladies were providing, and it was illuminating and kind of depressing all at once. But if you did like the book, or if you want a similar book, I do have some other suggestions. So this one is called The Gilded Years, and this one talks about passing, in this racial passing back in the 1800s. There was a lady, based on a true story, there was a lady in Adina Hemmings who was a black woman who was very light colored, and she passed for white, and she attended Vassar College, and nobody knew until years and years later. And they're actually making a movie off of this, and initially Zendaya was slotted to be the lead, but that has since canceled, so it's still in development. But it's really interesting. So if you've seen the movie Passing, I think there's a lot of themes on that, but it talks about the intersectionality between race and women's issues. The other book we have that's similar to the Barbizon is actually one that we read, I believe, last Literati season, or the one before, called The Address, and it's based on the Dakota, also in New York, and it's kind of a similar premise, except this was a apartment building that had a core group of very eccentric people. They had to be well-to-do in order to afford the place, the apartments, but also they tend to be very creative. They tend to be like artists or musicians and stuff. It was similar to the Barbizon. This is a novel, and the Barbizon is a nonfiction. So a lot of people tend to like this book better than the Barbizon because it talks more in depth about a cohesive story arc. And then I have 2 films that kind of play off of the women's issues. So the first one is Hidden Figures, again with the race intersectionality. Fabulous movie. I highly recommend it. And it talks about the NASA computers, which were basically a host of brilliant black women and women in general to do the computations for these really elaborate computations, and the men just kind of spit out the facts and used that data and aggregated it, and also did what they needed to do with that information, but they didn't actually come up with the numbers. So this is kind of an unsung hero sort of thing that's just coming to light about Katherine Johnson. And this one is a documentary talking about the entertainment industry and the roles for women, and the importance of after the whole Me Too movement with the Harry Weinstein, I think his name is, and how the treatment of actresses and child actresses and the expectations and the things that go unsaid are swept underneath the rug to get the roles, or the roles are very stereotyped, and so on and so forth. So it's interviewing a whole bunch of actresses talking about the progression of women's roles in entertainment, and it's really I haven't seen it, but I've seen clips, and it's really illuminating. It's really illuminating. So this is also available. And the next book we're going to be reading in January is called 10 Lessons for a Post-Pandemic. We can't see it, but it says 10 Says 10 under there. 10 Lessons for a Post-Pandemic World by Fareed Zakaria, and he's off of one of the CNN pundits, so gentleman there. He's written a few other books, but this will be on the first Wednesday of January 5th, for our next meeting. So we'll go over this and see what people have to say, if they believe it or not, or what their suggestions are. Thank you very much. See you next time. I don't know where I'm looking.